Who are you? And I don't mean your personal information or what is it that you do for work or anything like that. I mean, do you know what kind of person you truly are? Would you be able to accurately explain why it is you choose to act one way or the other? Well, I'm not here to tell you who you are, but stick around and we'll chat a little bit about how I feel like video games can shine a light on what exactly makes you tick. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is GingerThrust. If you happen to be new here, then welcome to our little tiny synthwave city here on the internet. Now normally you would see me on this channel doing a bunch of let's plays and the occasional gaming review video as well. However, since we're in a bit of a lull when it comes to major video game releases, I want to take some time on this channel to explore different themes and aspects of gaming itself. So of course, my first pass at this new video type comes in the form of a deep question, because that's just kind of the person that I am. You see, this all started with a conversation I was having with a friend. I was playing through Baldur's Gate and I hit a major decision in Act 2. It was my first time ever getting to that point and I wanted to discuss my thoughts on it. This friend of mine had a different perspective on how they would handle that specific scenario were it their choice to make. And so we went back and forth on what I think I should do versus what they think I should do, or what they would do in that situation. Spoiler alert, I did not take their advice. If you are watching, I promise that it all worked out and I do always appreciate your input. I went my way on the choice, and you know what? That's okay. The point of all this is I remember racking my brain a bit thinking, why is it that this specific choice seems so clear-cut for me, yet for my friend, it was a whole different way that they would go about it? What fundamental difference was there that would make us choose two different avenues for how that was going to result? And that led me to this idea of how games can be somewhat revelatory to our own persona. So today, I'm going to briefly ramble about how video games, especially RPGs with story-based decision mechanics in them, can help reveal two things about us: who we actually are in real life and who we would like to be in a virtual setting without real-world consequences. Let's start with what I think is a pretty common fact. Video games are an escape for many of us. We live our lives working jobs and side hustles, taking care of families, hanging out with friends, fulfilling social obligations, all the things that build our day-to-day lives. To be able to sit or lie down somewhere and consume art in any form is a natural pastime for so many of us. Now, gaming isn't necessarily a unique solution for this kind of pastime. We all have so many different avenues of art to take in, whether that's books, TV, music, whatever. There's so much for us to consume. However, we seem to consume it as a third-party observer. What makes gaming totally unique to this is that we get to experience this art hands-on, and a lot of times we are able to help influence our story that we get to consume within this. That's one of the main draws of the RPG genre in general, in my opinion, when it comes to certain types of video games. A few examples that come to my mind that I'm just going to throw out there. I've already mentioned one, which is Baldur's Gate 3, the ever classic Mass Effect franchise, and more recently for me, the choose your own adventure story game Lost Records Bloom and Rage. I really just wanted a reason to plug that amazing game that I played last year. I promise there's no sponsorship or ad here for that. These are just some of the examples I came up with that help explain how games create not only stories for us to experience, but help create ourselves in very specific ways. Picture this. You're watching the penultimate episode of a series or a show that you really love. Let's just say Fallout, for example, since I know it's pretty recent. You're watching the main character, Lucy, do something, and you immediately think to yourself, wait a minute, why would she have done that? That makes no sense. She probably should have done, and then insert whatever you think it is that she should have done. Why did you do that? Why did you sit there and have that thought? It's possible that you would have reacted in that specific way if you found yourself in a scenario just like that. Let's put that perspective into gaming. You're faced with a major choice in the middle of dialogue in a game you're playing. Let's say Mass Effect. Do you or do you not Free the Rachni Queen. You have all the facts in front of you. Do you choose what you feel like is the right thing to do? I'd wager a guess and say you would probably choose what you feel like is right. Also, let me know in the comments if you did release the Rachni Queen or not. I believe that we like to bring our own morals and mindsets into the worlds that we dive into with video games. I challenge you to think about that the next time you are faced with a decision and you're able to come up with an answer on the fly without having to think too much about that. Something that just felt obvious or right to you. That's probably a good indicator of who you are emotionally and mentally. Now, let's take the flip side of that and look at how games can possibly help us become the people that we don't feel like we can be in the real world. Be honest, not all of us are as charming or as strong or as confident as we'd really like to be. The fact is, we don't get to see all the options laid out before us and have the luxury of time to examine each one of them before we make a decision. But games do afford us that. Sometimes they give us a level of choice that we didn't even know was possible, and that's something I'm learning during my playthrough of Baldur's Gate. Games don't always have to be a mirror for who we are. Sometimes they can just be a canvas for us to explore methods and ways for us to become who we want to be. There are times we want to experience the joy of pissing somebody off without ever having to feel guilty about it. Other times, we want to explore pathways that might lead to a love that we never thought was possible. We can explore all of that and more thanks to new game pluses, chapter replays, quick saves, and other mechanics that help us explore games fully. That's something I feel like I would want to explore more fully in Lost Records Bloom and Rage, as that game specifically had a bunch of mechanics and gameplay avenues that helped to make or break friendships. Maybe that'll be in another video somewhere. So, that person that you want to be in real life that you feel like you're having trouble with, why don't you throw on an RPG and see how that works out for you? Well, that's pretty much the gist of this little video essay. I hope I was able to spark a thought or two during this conversation. I'll never stop talking about how I consider video games to be a strong art form, and these two reasons I discussed in this video are just some of the many reasons why I feel that way. So, the next time you're feeling a little bit existential, try out an RPG. See what choices you seem to naturally make, and consider those to be points of personal gravity towards who you are and what your personality is. But also, don't be afraid to bring your wishes into a digital playground. Who knows? You might just learn something about yourself that will change everything.